So, I think this is going to be a long video. I've written some notes, what I'm going to work through slowly as the notes like a rough outline of what I want to say. I just want to disclaim this video saying I have seen many videos like this, talking about not having friends, and many of these videos have come up in my own suggestions over time, and I've deliberately not watched them because I've already had this idea in my mind, where I want to talk about not having friends, but I want to talk about it in a different way than what's been already spoken about. I have started some of the videos, listening to a couple, like the first 2 minutes, and it's a little bit different. Like the points being made a little bit different to the ideas I want to kind of create. Excuse me. So, with everything on the internet, I always feel like it's already been done, even if you've thought of it, somebody else has already done it. And I think that's because we're all sort of living under the same microscope anyway, so it's not really too much of a leap that other people would also have done a video like this. So I want to say this video is going to be a little bit different, with maybe slight influence from other places. It's going to be a long one just because I want to cover this topic as good as I can. I think the reason why these videos exist and the reason why people make videos like this is just obviously try and connect to a wider audience. One of the main reasons I've never done a video like this before is because when I was growing up in YouTube was just taking off, YouTube was very formulaic in the sense you had to have fast editing or shoot in a certain location, and I come to film this on a Sunday. I just walk the dog, so I'm covering like dog hair. You can't see on the camera, but my trainers are muddy. So I feel like over time YouTube's become more authentic and people want more authentic content, which allows somebody like me to then come into the marketplace. I haven't done anything like this before just because I haven't found the right time, but here it is. I'm talking about not having friends as it's raining in a car out in the sticks somewhere in England. A changed man as well. I would usually be doing these things drinking coffee. I have done some things like this in the past, but this is the first time, thanks to the influence of others, where it's like, okay, I'm going to do my own channel now. I'm going to talk about my own stuff, mainly because the ideas I have and things aren't being covered. So this video is going to be about not having friends, but I feel a different take on it. I don't think everybody's going to be able to relate to all of it, but I definitely think all of you will be able to relate to some of it, which hopefully can start a conversation going. I mean, I like to think that these things will make a small difference, even if it's just the way we think. We just remember, oh, I remember a guy, I watched a YouTube video, I won't even remember the guy's name, but I'd be like, oh, I remember seeing a video on that, and it was slightly changed my perspective, and I just sort of feel a little bit better about myself. Because obviously with like coming out of COVID as well, the whole country and other countries are just rife with anxiety. So I think anything we can use really to get out of that state. So I'm going to talk slow because I want to cover things at my speed. So I can see this going on for 40 minutes. I'll try and segment it so you can skip ahead to different parts. I want to take you right back to being a child and having friends, and then I want to take you all the way to the adult life and having friends. And also I want to talk about the different waves I've had of friends. So let me just think how I'm going to start this. it's one of those things where I've thought what I want to say, but then when I actually come to say it, it's like almost like a spider web of thoughts, and it's quite daunting when I'm going to start. I'll just check my notes. This might not be in real time. Okay. So, I'm now 25 when I make this video, and I would say I don't have any friends. Finally. I've thinned the herd out to the point where I really don't have any friends. And I don't have any friends for not the normal reasons, which is why I wanted to make this video. I want to preposition by saying I understand what life is. I understand environmental factors come into play regarding having friends. I understand what you're interested in, such as hobbies, even down to what films you like affects the friend group you have. I understand work obligations affect friend cycles. I also understand friends are cycles in life. You know, the saying is people are in your life for seasons. I understand some friends are just meant to be work colleagues, some are meant to be childhood friends, but then you move cities and then you never talk to each other. So I fully understand what friendship is, and I would like to then, as self-aware as I can be, sort of bring in where I think I stand in the realm of making friends. So I think I am a lone wolf, which is a term what is bandied about a lot by people who aren't really lone wolves, but I definitely, after being with people, I could probably be with people, even a really close friends, for maybe 4 hours, and then I have to decompress and spend the rest of the day with myself. As my life moves on, I find myself I don't really like being around people. Just because you start to see the same shades of humanity, the same walks of life, you can sort of tell in a stereotypical way what that person's like. I know there is the old saying that like you can never really judge somebody at face value because you don't know what's going on in their life. I think that's true to a degree, but if you go into an environment, you can definitely tell if you're going to click or gel with this person, or if this person is going to make the environment unbearable. I've been in many cafes where somebody's walked in and they've been a little too loud, or sometimes I can just be having a bad day, I'll admit this, and so I think this is obviously a personal gripe, because we've all got to learn to live with each other. And some people just be doing something what would be annoying me to the point, something what I would consider obnoxious. It might just be the way they're sat at a laptop, or I might think I'm projecting what I think they're thinking, so I just decide to leave the cafe. I get that's kind of on me. So I much prefer time by myself. If I am going to hang out in a social setting, I don't really like groups. I just like one-on-one with a few close friends. That could be spend time with my girlfriends. And I like to decompress how I feel. I don't really like small talk. I just like to get straight on with it. Avoid any notion of let's talk about the weather. Let's skip past any awkwardness. I just want it to be as open, as raw and realistic as I possibly can be, and that's how I get things back from people. It's why I like travel so much, because I feel when you travel you meet strangers, and there might be a little bit of small talk, but because you're from different backgrounds, you usually jump straight into talking about the bigger picture. It's like if you've ever stayed in a hostel, you're usually in a room full of people where you all roughly are there for the same reason, so you can sort of skip the pleasantries and just get on we're talking about something a bit more in depth. And sometimes you can make friends a bit easier in that way if you are somebody who can only have deep conversations. So yeah, I spend most of my time by myself, and I'm completely happy by that. I think there's many factors to do with that. I'm just being as self-aware as I can here, so this is going to sound obnoxious of me saying this, but I think I'm a fairly intelligent person, and there have been many studies to show that if you are, and when I say intelligent, I don't necessarily just mean book smart. I think I'm quite emotionally intelligent, and intelligent in the fact. It's always weird talking, calling yourself intelligent, because to what degree does that intelligence entail? But I think I'll probably be intelligent in the fact I feel I could formulate a conversation on most things, even if I didn't know about that subject. I'd be able to have a go, and come up with an argument what would be probably perceived as intelligent. So that impacts my days, because if I'm in, and this is just me being completely honest now, and I don't think this is a gift or a special power. It's something I've attained over time, but life everywhere I seem to see is very anal in the fact, if you do a job, you have to live in this bracket, so it comes with a certain lifestyle. So if you work in an office, it's a certain dress code, and then after work you go to a certain bar to have post-work drinks. You might talk about gambling, you might talk about horse racing, you might talk about the wife, which seems to be a way of life what fits into most of these jobs. I think that is breaking apart a little bit in the modern century, or the time we're living in now. Everything's kind of modern century, isn't it? Every year. So I've never been able to fit into those things. I've been able to cover all the things. So say if I did go on an office night out to build relations, I would be able to talk about horse racing and football, but I'd also be able to talk about philosophy and great writers. So I feel my intelligence is that I'm interested in all fields. It becomes problematic in an environment because people just want a one-dimensional figure of somebody. So if you're into football, let's just stop at the football conversation. Let's talk about that, and then we might segue into something else. And I do force conversations with people who aren't necessarily interested in the things I'm interested in, just so I don't alienate them, or just give them the sense that they also can't have this conversation. I do that, but it doesn't necessarily result in the greatest of conversations, or necessarily a friendship. Like, there's many times I've gone into deep talk with somebody and they never text me back, maybe because the statement was a little too intimidating, or just not thinking about it. Like, I'm one of those people where if you was to message me anything, stuff what I don't even care about, stuff I don't even think about, I will think about it and try and message you back with a response. So that's the sign of that's the type of intelligence I believe I have, which is more of an emotional intelligence. And just being able to talk like this, which is, I mean, I'm faking it a little bit because I am on camera, so I'm playing it up a little bit. But if we were to meet in a cafe, I would be maybe a few levels down from this, and this is pretty much how I talk. I'm always thinking, so and that doesn't come into intelligence. That can just be some of the things I'm thinking are just look at that puddle, like it's got smaller since yesterday. But I can't really switch my brain off, so I have a hard time simmering down in a social setting to just play the game. However, so I do think I am a lone wolf. I do think I kind of isolate myself, not on purpose, but just by the way I am from people around me. But I am somebody who also is kind of extroverted. I think I am the crossover of the... I remember doing a test at school a long time ago, like 7 years, if I was an introvert and extrovert. And it came out extrovert, and I was cheating some of the answers because I wanted to get an extrovert. Just so I could be an extrovert in front of my friends, because my friends were extroverts. And after the lesson had finished, I did the test again, filing the answers incorrectly, and I also got extrovert. I know an online test doesn't indicate anything. But then many of my close friends and family will call me an introvert. I think extrovert, introvert are maybe too broad of a scale, because I think it is environmental again. You see, we're 16 minutes in. I haven't even set up the preposition, but it's okay. I just can't go on for an hour and a half. I promise this can't go on for an hour and a half. So, I like letting off steam with guys. Like, I like just messing around and doing silly things. I've got a very silly sense of humour. So I'd say I definitely play both sides. Like, I can go to a football game, my friend can be drinking a beer in the bottle, and I can hit the top of it so the beer comes out, and I can find that funny. But then I can also go to a cafe and talk about, I don't know, Hemingway or a Tarkovsky film. I can talk about what's happening in my relationship and things about friendship. So I feel I sort of the best of both worlds, but that becomes problematic when you're trying to have friends. So I'm going to take you back to the very beginning now, when I was a kid. I'm going to check my notes so I don't go completely off topic. Yeah, so I've sort of put here that I'm good with people. And it's also one of those arrogant things that people say where it's like... I think we are living in that generation where you can't say you're good at anything because it comes across as obnoxious or arrogant. And there are professional football players what are very confident, very proud, and sometimes to the point where it's like, all right, we've got normal jobs, or we're living this world as well. Like, just because we haven't made it as a football doesn't mean you're better than us. But then that's just obviously my own ego coming into the equation. So when I say things like I am good with people, I know that's not self-deprecating, and people don't really like people who aren't self-deprecating anymore. But I think I am good with people. Old people really like me. I think in another life I probably would have become a carer. I like old people as well. And I guess I just more mean, if you text me, and I'm insanely busy, and maybe we haven't even spoken in 2 years, I'll put time, what am I trying to say here? I'll set aside time for anybody. Even if I don't like you, and you message me, I'll talk to you. Like, so much of my time is just me wasted talking to people don't necessarily like me, or I don't necessarily like them, but we're talking anyway. I don't know if that actually makes me a good person. Maybe it's not the smartest thing to do. But if you message me at 2 in the morning and I'm awake, which is most likely, I'll message you back and I'll talk to you till 6, and then I maybe never see that person again. I would say most of my life is made up of jokes what I could have used in some improv cellar or on some stand-up tour, but I end up using those jokes just to, like, all the best stuff I've ever come up with in my life is lost on like messaging apps, on old phones. I give a lot of good information, good stuff away to people. I've started realizing now to maybe stop doing that. I've definitely given advice and opportunities away to people, and bigger corporations or my friends have gone off and done something sort of not necessarily behind my back, but I've just given them the idea and they've gone ahead and done it, and it's been successful, and I've obviously been cut out of it. So yeah, I just think I'm just a nice guy who's maybe a little too giving, but it's also becomes interested in people. It's also one of my other major problems I have with, I'm interested in difficult people, flawed people. And it's not necessarily I'm flawed myself. I don't really necessarily actually think of myself as a flawed person. I have issues, but there are always issues I've been able to work through, or continue to work through, eventually work through. Anyway, I'm going off topic. We'll get back onto this in a minute. So I also take back to when I was a kid. I think me being a kid, so we're talking from the ages of 3 to maybe 11. I think the child version of myself is a lot more closer to my actual version now. Because as a kid, I was terrified of people. I sort of turned that into fascination in the end. But let's take a drink of this. It sort of became fascination. I would go to the family functions and I'd sort of just sit and just watch people and just analyse. A lot of people thought I was shy or just introverted, but I just wasn't really much of a talker. I didn't really have anything to say. My whole life just revolved around video games and comic books and all the usual stuff for kids. I was completely obsessed with all that sort of stuff. Adults sort of terrified me. I was always very obedient towards them. I thought they had a secret power, which I've only just now managed to sort of shake off. So as a kid, definitely isolated from my peers and people, and I was very cautious of people, and I'd say that's how I've become now. Those years after I was a kid, I'll say from 11 till 23, I definitely wasn't scared of kids. Wasn't scared of adults. I actually would be playful with adults. I would, if I had that stereotypical boss what was a bit heavy-handed on staff, I would sort of wind him up on purpose. Like, I was sort of fearless when it came to those people. But definitely through COVID and definitely through how my life's panned out, I've been able to isolate myself from people in a positive way. I mean, I've set myself. I did that thing where you basically move out of your small hometown into a bigger place to do something bigger, and then realize that's not what you want to do. You was actually happy back in that small hometown, and I've gone back to small hometown, but nobody's back there, and I'm back to sort of just not gelling with people. You see, I don't hate people. I actually like people. No, I really honestly do. I just can't communicate to them. It's not because I can't. Like, I can. Like, if I bump into somebody, I can have a great I think I'm a likable person. If I bump into somebody in a supermarket I haven't seen, I will have a conversation, we'll exchange numbers, and we'll probably go for a coffee, and maybe that will be that. But I just can't. I just isolate myself from people. If I go for a walk, I make sure I'm listening to music so I don't have to talk to anybody. If somebody waves to me, I'll wave back, but then my head will be straight down. I just can't deal with people. I think because I'm also dealing with my own life, I just can't have anybody else's burdens on me, which might be a separate video. So as a kid, so me being a kid, I do say, like, the child, show me the child and then we'll show you the man. I'd say I've now fully transitioned in from being a child to now what I am as an adult. I think all those people will just continue learning for the rest of my life. And I'm sorry I'm going off on tangents here. I promise you are loosely connected. I think I'm one of those people who will go on to learn more stuff and improve myself, but I definitely see the child in me again. So I've also wrote here that I was scared of the other kids. I want to give you the reason why for that. Just a little background. I had many issues when I was a kid. Many issues, both psychologically, medically, mentally. I couldn't hear properly. I had some issues with my ears, what have miraculously sorted themselves out. I couldn't see properly. My eye was diagnosed as being like oval shaped, which developed into like I get like lots of eye floaters, and my vision was blurred. It's why I was so attracted to Spider-Man. I felt myself very much like him. I couldn't speak properly. I had a speech impediment, which sometimes if I'm talking too fast does come back now, or I'll misscramble words. I can never say a word beginning with S, which I was highly embarrassed to admit up until probably about now, because it's just like, what the hell? Not in a depressive way, like we're all going to the same place, but we've all got things, haven't we? I was very nurtured to the point I was scared of talking to anybody outside my bubble, which was just me playing video games. And I had a very, very loving family, but loving to the point of, maybe I was protected a bit too much. And other kids just terrified me. Like, I remember having a party when I was a boy. My parents were sort of forced into it. It was sort of the thing to do when your son turns 7 or whatever, have a party. I remember I collected these shells from the beach because I was a very private and isolated person as a kid. I was just completely obsessed with my own world. I'd go to a beach, walk down it, and collect shells. I was a very quiet kid. Very deeply invested in my own thoughts. I had these shells in like a bucket, and those in the back of my play shed. I don't know if that translates to. There's so many words and phrases you use, and they don't translate to people's life. But it was just a shed built for me to play in. I had like all my action figures and stuff in there. And I remember a kid coming over, and he just picked the bucket up and threw it over and started stamping on all the shells. And I just started crying because I just couldn't take it. Towards the end of my first school, I did get a lot better. I remember this guy was bullying me, and he ran at me, was playing Tig, which is where you tap people and then they're it, and then they try and chase you. Yeah, again, I know I've since worked out other people call it by a different name. Tag. And this kid was bullying me. I was playing Tig. Sorry, my phone just cut out then. I don't know why. It says I've got 26 minutes left, so I'll try and speed this up. I've like completely filled my phone out with pictures, CBA to back up. So I was playing Tig or Tag or whatever you call it from where you're from, and like I've since worked out, people call it a different name from wherever you hail from. He ran at me, and he was trying to intimidate me, and I just kicked him in the shins, and he went down. And I remember I went to the teacher to report before he could report me, which is very, very classic me. I just sort of do things and I just own up to it straight away. I'm like, yeah, I did that. I lost my shit. I lost my cool. So, yeah, at the end of school, I started standing up for myself, and all the friends that I had were mainly girls. And when guys say that, they're usually using it as a flex. I'm using it because it was just geographically, like, where I lived, predominantly most of the children were girls. So, and girls are a lot more caring, and obviously because I was a guy that has many crushes on me. so I'd get involved a lot with the girls. I'd sort of play Barbie with them, and play dress up with them. All the things now sound completely wrong. Like I would take pictures of them in clothes, and they would take pictures of me wearing like a wig. Completely harmless as a child, but then when you think back of it, maybe it does have some pseudo intellectual properties. What maybe addressing in another video. I liked girls. I thought they were fun. They were flexible. We used to create games. There used to be a TV show called Raven, which was like it was a UK TV show, and children would play the game in. They were sort of acting, but they'd play like challenges where you had to like run across a drawbridge and someone would try and knock you off. We'd sort of recreate those games. So most of my friends were girls, and girls sort of looked after me. Cause I never really fit in with guys, and if a guy was to bully me in a dinner hall, I remember a girl would come over and be like, "Oh, don't listen to that guy," which did benefact, like, you know, it was the main benefit of my later relationships, we'll get to in a minute. So then when I went to high school or secondary school, I've always called it high school. Everybody from England loses their shit, and it's like, well, it's actually secondary school. So when I was in secondary school, I had a friend that went to my primary school, and I started hanging out with him, and I followed him into the most approachable group, because obviously in secondary school there's now 100, in my school there's now 100 different, maybe more, maybe like 150 different students I could pick to be friends with. I didn't know any of them. And I also sort of learned at primary school, kids will just be kids. Like, I never really let the bullying ever got, like, it never really got to me. I got bullied to the point of I was very sad, but I understood kids were just kids, and then I didn't really let it impact my later relationships. So when I got to secondary school, I just sort of made friends in the most approachable group, in terms they were just silly. Like from day one, it was like a splinter group. So there was maybe 15, 20, but the core group consisted of 5 people, which we later called the Helly Hanser gang, because we all wore Helly Hansers, which was a type of coat. It's like a black coat, and we all used to stand wearing it, and we thought we looked like some sort of like gang, like a Tunnel Snakes, like out of Fallout. But there was like another 15 kids connected to that group, but they sort of dropped in and dropped out. They were sort of lone wolves themselves. But from the very first day, maybe the first week, where we were just moving to our different lessons and meeting new teachers and new people, we ended up setting a table on fire. We were just messing with Bunsen burners, stacking them all up on top of each other, and the table, it like, all the Bunsen burners dropped and it set the table on fire. Up until this point, I was a very good kid. I never got into bother. I always told the teacher. I was a bit of a grass. But now I had, it's nice that sun's out. We're going through different weather patterns here. I keep apologising because it's going to be a long story, but let's hope this helps somebody. Me saying, yeah, come on. Like, come on. Listen to my video. Hang in with me. I promise you got a point at the end. Sometimes I time myself out when I talk. So yeah, I just started becoming. I came out my shell, and I realized I have a really silly sense of humor. So I wasn't a bad kid. I wasn't I was disruptive, but I wasn't doing it in a sense where I was never the kid who had the cigarette behind his ear, drank from a long age, had sex from a long age. I was never that kid. I wasn't that cool. Not that that's cool, but you know, those kids were always regarded as cool because they seemed to have a foot in the adult world before anybody else. I always found them quite intimidating, to be honest. Because I've always one of the people I've enjoyed every age I've been at. Like I've enjoyed being a kid. I've never really wanted to, you know, I miss that period where you get to go to water parks and go karting, and you can do it non-ironically. I still do those things, but obviously there's a bit of irony attached to them now. So I definitely came out my shell, and I definitely proved to everybody around me that I think I was forcing things. Definitely, I think I was deliberately trying to put myself into more outgoing situations. But the group I was in was never the cool kids. It was never the hard kids. There was probably mid-table in terms of popularity. Yeah, around mid. Sometimes lower mid. Sometimes if you hung out with the right person, you maybe get to the big boys table. But I use the word goofy. I think me and my friends were goofy. So I put here. This is where I first started seeing the hierarchy of life, and how you had to do a certain thing to then be friends with a certain person. I never subscribed to that. I was always, I think I got left alone. I never got bullied really much in secondary school. I think I got left alone because I could be funny as a defense mechanism if I needed to be, but I wasn't the funniest in the class. I was still very quiet. I never really got on with my work. I sort of started losing. When I was a kid, I was sort of obsessed with my work. I was very book smart, and then in secondary school I sort of lost that and sort of became unfocused, and sort of became more focused on people. I remember I'd sit at the back of lessons and just watch people carrying off, sometimes in admiration. It's also something I started getting a thing for girls, but I gotta be careful how I phrase this, because I was never really actually into girls, but I started to find them attractive, and all that angst was sort of taking over. So I think it was making me a bit more quiet as well. So this sort of segues into in this period. So I had my group of high school friends. I had my friends back home from my small town neighborhood. I had a few friends from my first school, which was slowly fading out. But I had loads of friends online. This is back in the days where I would game online on Xbox Live, and I was meeting, some of them were like 34 dudes, but it was okay back then. Like, I remember this 34-year-old dude got me into Led Zeppelin, and I just talked. So it was like the world had been expanded, and I had all these virtual friends. Like, I could never meet them. I'd sometimes message them on Facebook, kind of thing. I'd add them on Facebook, but they didn't really exist in my life. But they existed through the microphone when I talked to them, and I guess it's where my adult humour started developing. I would never really swear because it wasn't really my nature. I thought my humour was a bit more dry. I have no obligation to anybody what does swear. I use like profanities or drops any lewd words. That sounds like I'm very conservative, but I'm not. I just didn't really. I wasn't really a shock jock. That wasn't really my humour. My humour was more. I was more a wind-up merchant. Like I'll just list things just to annoy people. Like if somebody asked me where I live, I'd list a city, then like another town, then I'd like list a street. I'd just really drag it out. That was sort of my humour. So by that, I'll stay up all night talking to these people. So I'd say my social life was good. I'll go on lots of adventures with my hometown friends. It was just at that stage. I'm trying to think what it would just be. About 2007 till maybe 2013 or 2012 actually. Phones and mobile phones were in, but we still were sort of 90s kids, and we still came from a place where had like a tire swing, and you had like rivers you could swim in. So we were still pretty reckless kids who went on adventures. So, you know, I think that is fundamentally how you make really strong friendships. You would go to the woods with somebody and you'd play cowboys and Native Americans, or you'd play cops and robbers, or you would just go to the next town and play football with another group of kids. Half my friends wanted to stay in and play on games. I always wanted to be out. I love playing video games at night, but in the day I just wanted to be out and just hanging with people and just talking. Our group was mainly made up of girls, and obviously when I became a bit more interested in girls, of course I wanted to hang out with them more. I got heavily into sport and football, so I had friends from other towns where I'd go meet them over the weekend and I'd play football. I had my online friends, I had my high school friends, I had my friends from primary school, I had my childhood friends, where someone's coming past with a dog and it's from my trail of thought. I had my childhood friends where we would, they sort of knew me a bit better because I could sort of let my hair down back when I had two on the top and then one on the side, on the back. So I didn't actually have this hair, but I could let my hair down around them because they could see me in all my glory. So I felt more confident around my childhood friends because our parents knew each other. So yeah, at that point I had a good trio of friends, to the point where my whole life revolved around my friends. My parents were always telling me friends aren't going to be there in later life, and they were sort of right, but at the same time we just created so many fun memories. I have so many stories of the stuff we got up to and stuff I would never take back, and stuff what made me an adult, because it was all trial and error. You would climb a tree and you'd learn how far you could climb the tree before you fell out. These are all things that go into later life. It helps your risk taking, like it helps you sense out what risks you're about to take. So then, sixth form, the pressure begins to mount. Before sixth form, I was a bit of a high school rebel. I just sort of scraped my GCSEs. I would say I'm a very intelligent kid, but my school was a little deprived. The teachers weren't really in it. I didn't really get any help or support. I sort of just ran wild. I lost interest. There was nothing I really wanted to study. Nothing really took my interest. So I was a bit of a burnout, a bit of a dropout. And then when we entered sixth form and the pressure mounted, I never felt that pressure, but everybody else just changed overnight. Everybody was just trying to become an adult. So one by one, all my high school friends phased out, or they went into groups doing things what I didn't want to do. So then I sort of isolate myself from them, and they just completely stopped talking to me altogether, and I just dropped out because I didn't really have any friends. But I still have my childhood friends. My online friends, as I was getting older, I started becoming disinterested in video games, so I started to lose most of my online friends. I just didn't have time for them, or they also moved on, or because they're technically not real because they're online, they never really existed in the first place. I still have my hometown friends. They were still probably the core of my group, but the town I'm from, when I was a kid, was massive to me, but now it's very small, so I didn't really have the biggest pool of people to pick from. You also start to work out you're only sort of friends with these people because you're in the same place. Your differences become more apparent and you start distancing yourself from people. So I'd say just on the cusp of sixth form, my phone would be blowing up. I had one of those phones where it was always dinging, and I always left the ding on because I liked the feeling of being popular, because never was a popular kid, and everybody likes to feel wanted. Then that slowly stopped. I definitely was one of those people that had like a Facebook that had a lot of people on it just for the sake of it. But truthfully, I probably knew 100. Well, I probably knew by name probably like 300-400 people from the area, but I probably knew I had a conversation with like 100 people in the area. which I was always very hard. Like growing up, it was always, the more people you had on Facebook, the more popular you was. But obviously, as you grow older, you realise that's not really the case. Like, it's not really a good thing having all these people on social media. It puts you more in the scope. Like, I've always liked to just be as Indian on the fringes as I can. Now here I am on YouTube. Okay, so now I go into the adult world. 16 or 17 I think. I'm still working out what I want to do with my life, but I started actually getting adult friendships. So I was actually friends with people who were in their 20s or a couple of years older than me, and definitely had their life together. Like, or they had a plan where they wanted to take. One of my really good friends in that era, who I actually did meet in sixth form, he wanted to be a police officer, I think, and then I think he changed it and wanted to be a nurse or something. Really cool guy. So I started going to this area where I'd then go to cafes. I spent most of the years going to cafes and meeting people and having really grown-up conversations. So I definitely transitioned into a new realm of friendhood, and I started shredding my skin of that like childhood angsty popularity hierarchy like friendship group. I sort of distanced myself from those people, and I had people that lived in the real world. They had real consequences to their life, and I'm glad I did this so soon, because it just grew me the F up fast. It's sort of like a balance for me. And I started attracting lots of strays. Like, I've always attracted problematic people what have issues, and I hang around those people. Not necessarily just, I'd never really talk about myself. I didn't really have their issues. They came from broken families, and they developed drug habits at a younger age, or they were just dysfunctional to humanity, or they just had no chance really from that young age of really fitting in. I'd probably say up until now I've started distancing myself from those people, because they tend to be a bit reckless towards my life. But you know, most of my friends were musicians, or not saying that all musicians are the same, but they definitely hold some sort of key to dysfunctionality or just not fitting in. So it was clear I was the kid who wasn't going to fit in with the rest, which at first was extremely intimidating, but it soon became a superpower. My core group of childhood friends stuck with me till I was 21. I'd like to do a separate video talking on me and some of my best friends separating, because I sort of just stopped hanging out with my best friends. Like, these are people what I thought were going to be best friends for my life. I thought they were going to be my best at my wedding. Not that I wanted to get married, but if I ever did. But we just stopped talking, and there was never any hate, or we just drifted apart, even though our relationships were extremely strong and bonded on history. We just took different paths, and what I wanted to do, I wanted to take a more of an unconventional path. And I guess the broad stroke I use is working in the entertainment industry. I wanted to go more towards that, so that's why I started hanging out with filmmakers and musicians and that sort of crowd. But I didn't even really fit with that crowd either. I was sort of the outside of the outsiders, just because I wasn't really as flawed as they were. So and that's not me just trying to be protective of my own things. I definitely had issues, but I didn't really have anything glaring. I had like a good background, I had a good childhood. You know, I was once popular, but that sort of started to wear off like a mask. So I was now developing all these adult relationships with stray people. I just started college, and I started meeting people who were wanting to do something I wanted to do, so the friendship came a bit naturally, and they also had consequences to their life. They were ranging from 18 to 22, so you know, they had a life, so you could talk to them about life, and then you would do your college work. and I'd probably say it's my second wave of popularity because I really started coming out my shell again. And I would sort of be friends with everybody on the college campus. I started to really feel like an adult. I started to really use my popularity. I'll get invited to lots of nights out. You know, I started experimentation with things. I had a long-time girlfriend at the time, and then when that sort of broke up, I definitely became more involved with different sets of girls. So I would say I was training a lot of my childhood friends, but they were also sticking with me because I hadn't fully transitioned into what I wanted to do yet. And when I did, I sort of lost them. And then when I was 20 to 22, I got my first real job. And I was also a very, 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 very ambitious and focused person. I still am. I sort of knew what I wanted at 16, even though I was a bit of a dropout. But by 20, I was going for it, and by 22, I had achieved everything I had wanted. And by doing that, by chasing what you want, you isolate yourself from the majority of people. I strayed from the path. What I thought I think my family had an idea of what I was gonna do or what I was like, but I completely derailed myself from that path. Chasing the dreams I wanted, and when I attained my dreams, it was very lonely. I was gonna say at the top, but it was very lonely in that success. So we're getting more towards who I am now, and I might have to stop this because I'm going to run out of time, or I can just wrap this up into 3 minutes. In 3 minutes, I can definitely wrap this up, so I don't waste any more of your time. So yeah, I had worked so hard and I was so obsessed with what I wanted to do. I didn't have time for people anymore. I didn't have time for friends, and I didn't like being popular anymore. I didn't think that was a good life. I was different in the sense I didn't do any of the connotations. I got rid of social media just because I thought it was a waste of time because I just didn't really have anything to say. I had like a group of close friends, and then a lot of those close friends became problematic over time. They started becoming more of a burden. They do say when there's like a 7-year period when you hit that with a friend, it's like make or break, and I definitely had those relationships. I lost a lot of my best friends. We just stopped talking, or they just didn't like the path I was on, or they just became, I guess in a sense, jealous because I sort of at one point didn't have my life together, and I was sort of the kid of the group, and then I did have my life together. Although I have definitely been, say if I've been part of 10 groups, I'd say out 7 out of 10 I've definitely been leaders of those groups, and the rest fringes, but then a leader always dies eventually. So I just strayed on my friends. I moved area, then moved back, didn't stay in touch with anybody. COVID did a number in my friend group. A lot of my friends I just realised were just business relations. I had nothing in common with them. I slowly became more and more isolated, and then I was left just with my core group of friends, and I was happy with that, really happy with that, because they say in life all you need is a few friends and get on with it. But then I started to lose them as well. Oh boy. I'll just delete a bit of footage off my phone, and I feel like I need 5 minutes to cover this. Alright, I've managed to get myself 8 more minutes of footage. My hands are getting cold, so I'm going to try and wrap this up. I guess this is like the meat of the video now. This is the bit I want to talk about because it's the most tragic, because I had built my life in a way where I had a number of close friends what I was extremely close to, and you see, if they ever see this video, they'll probably message me like, oh, why didn't you just reach out to me? Like, why didn't you just message me? Or it didn't have to be like this, or kind of what are you talking about? Because I don't want to like paint the picture that see, I've messed the angle now, so continuity's gone downhill. I don't want to paint the picture that I can't. Well, like say if I wanted to go to golf, I couldn't. I wouldn't have anybody to go to golf with. But it's sort of my own fault. I sort of. But at the same time, it's not really my own fault. I once had friends where I could go to golf with them, but I just got so invested in my own life and I just became so different to them. I just felt alone when I was with other people. And then a lot of my close friends, I've got to be very careful what I say, because not just because if they watch, but I don't want to come across as sounding bitter. So I guess I'll use this sort of phrasing of, people get so busy in their lives, you sort of just don't want to bother them. So I think I still am the busiest out of my friends, not as a competition, but I feel I have the most things going on. But I always have time for people, but it gets to a point where even my close friends are leaving me unread, or just not contributing to the conversation in the same aspect that I am. And I'm starting to work out it's because, I've grown up so fast. To the point, I've kind of accelerated past all my peers and my friends. I don't really have even really much in common with my close friends anymore. I don't know, it's very hard to say. But it's why I sort of made this video, because up until now I did have people I could talk to, and then I just sort of look at my my messenger and WhatsApp, and there's just nobody to talk to. Like, I would always be the person who watched a film and then send it to like 4 people, like, check this out, or somebody messages me of like, oh, isn't this funny? I just don't have that anymore. People have moved on, or I just can't communicate with people anymore. Or even my really close friends. We've got too many differences now to have a relationship, or the shoes being on my feet. I no longer want a relationship with them. Like, I just can't anymore. Like, it's just got to. I feel like I've outgrown them. It's just got to a period where I just can't. We just got nothing in common anymore. And there's still those people in my life in terms of like family, and I still talk to people, but I just don't have that companionship anymore. And the sad thing is, I don't really want to seek it either, because you can't really just make friends. Like, all my close friends, we've been through so much together. They know my life inside out. I can't recreate that with a stranger. I can't just go on Bumble. I have tried. I'm gonna make another video on that. I can't just go on Bumble and try and make a friend. Even doing videos like this, people do them to try and reach out to people. It's like, even if there's somebody out there and we have a great connection, it's like we've got to build so much scaffolding to get to like a real solid friendship. And it's kind of a depressing thought. Part of me, the reason why I'm not overly depressed is I brought this on myself by just throwing myself into my work, and I do love my work, and I do love, I do like life, and I do like myself, and I think I'm at that crossroads now where it is time to get rid of a few friends. I think a few friends have got rid of me, and it's time for me to go to that next step, because I think a lot of my friends have also been holding me back, just by discouraging words, and I've had moments of insanity with friends, but now I'm ready to get on with it, and I hope that by doing that I do meet a whole new set of people. I think I will, because I think I'm quite approachable and agreeable person. But I just wanted to make this video because it's actually, I'm not trying to shift blame, but it's just, it's just life. It's just how it's just worked out. Like it's just not my fault. Like, just when I became heavily into films, I lost all my footballing friends because it just alienated me from them. I'd just be trying to talk to films about them, or they would just like know that I went to the cinema a lot, and it just they seem to see that as uncool, so they just not hang out with me. And then it's the same with my film friends. I'm friends with them, but they don't like football, so to see me at football, they don't invite me to screenings. You know, people people aren't very nice, and I'm okay with that. No, I get it. Like, I'm good. My biggest worry is like my core relationship now is my girlfriend, and that's my worry. I never really wanted to be that guy who just sort of like hangs out. That's not me crying, by the way. That's not my really. My core relationship is my girlfriend, so I didn't really want to be that guy who devoted them that, but it sort of came full circle because my whole life sort of revolved around being friends with girls, and then but it's always problematic. A lot of my relationships did coincide with being friends with girls, but it's problematic because where do you draw that line of then people start catching feelings, or you know, would we, wouldn't we sort of scenarios come in place, and in the day it's always going to be a girl. I definitely have switched off my predator instincts around some girls, but I can't talk to girls how I would talk to a guy. So I think it's kind of ironic that I've actually, my whole life revolves now around a woman, when it's always been heading that direction, because I've always, like, the women have always gave me like a soft approach to things, where if I was with a group of guys and they were taking the mess out of a woman, I'd never join in. Not that that's a good thing, you know, I'm sure it's only harmless, but I think that's came back in my favour in the sense that I have a good relationship with women, in the sense I think you can really conceptually talk to them. My phone's about to run out, so I'll end this here. Yeah, I guess I ran out of space again. I knew I couldn't wrap up in 8 minutes. I tried to rush it then right at the end. So yeah, I feel like I've always got along with women really well, in a non-sexual way as well, but obviously there's always kind of sexual indications there. But as I've got older and I've matured and becoming a long-term relationship, those sexual indications have actually gone. A guy gave me a right dirty look then. Why is there a kid filming himself talking in the car? Welcome to 2022. So it's you know, and I've always loved women to the point where I'd rather spend time with them than my guy friends. But then it's also a contradiction, because I do love just letting off steam with guys, just in a really silly way, a silly goofy way, which sometimes you can't really do with women, or it's not really the same. Guys do need guys. Like, I'm not saying, you know, it's a good thing in the situation I'm in. Like, I definitely do need some guy friends, but then I just can't. I just don't have them as of yet. So I think the next step for me will be obviously just carry on my life, and hopefully I'll meet the next wave of people. But I guess I'm making this video because this is the point where all the dog walkers come past. Breaks me back into reality. You start thinking, what? Oh, there we go. Oh. That's a bit fuzzy. You start thinking what you do when people are walking by. It's more an angle now. Yeah, I always struggle when it comes to tying something up, because how do you tie something up? I mean, I guess we're just talking, really, aren't we? So yeah, hopefully when I say so yeah, then words follow. Yeah, I think it'd be a blessing in disguise, because it will mean now I have to actually fully focus on my life, and I think that'll be a good thing for my career. But yeah, through COVID, I my time with people was definitely limited, and like I've tried to put myself in social settings where I go to the pub or something like that, but I just feel too disconnected from the world to attempt a relationship. I just don't feel I have anything in common, or I just don't feel. I feel people are predictable. Even videos like this are kind of predictable. Like if you know what I mean, like you sort of know what I'm gonna say, you sort of know what the person's gonna say. Like what can you say to people? And there's also the thing where my life is very, very hard to piece together in the fact I do a lot of different things. That's what makes up my job. My job's made up of lots of different things. So when somebody asks me what I do, I can't really give a straight answer, which also then isolates me. I'm very proud of what I do, but when you tell people, they sort of judge you in a certain way. It's a hard one. So that's what I wanted to make this video about. That I'm guessing a lot of people make these videos and they talk about flaws they have, and I definitely do have flaws, and I will talk about that one day. I do have flaws why I can't make friends, and some of them are apparent as I'm talking. But I think a lot of people talk about can't get friends because they're shy, or they have anxiety, or they don't want to go without outside themselves to meet somebody. Or well, I haven't actually watched these videos, so they may actually be talking about what I'm talking about, but I don't think, and this is like me trying to give some words of wisdom now, I don't think the reason why, I mean, we're all kind of lonely in a way. Even when I was popular, I was lonely. I felt lonely at the top. I even feel lonely around people, even my close friends. There's always that point where you're just with them and it's time to go home. Like, you just no longer have anything in common with this person. Like, I've always felt alone with the group. It's just sad because I'm going to use a Cowboy Bebop analogy. So if none of you have seen this, I'll break this down. I am trying to end this video, so I'm apologising it's going so long. I don't want to take any more of your time up. But in Cowboy Bebop, it's just a bunch of outsiders. This is why I love it so much. Who can't fit in society, who come together but can fit together as one because they're outside. But they eventually also break up, and that's what's happened in my life. It's just my life has been a bunch of outsiders who have come together. We've had really close relationships, and now we've all gone. And now we're back to, it's just back to you, me, myself, and I. And part of that's quite thrilling. I quite like that feeling. But then the second part of it is daunting. And, you know, sometimes you realise, like, we watch these films and we read books and we sort of detach ourselves from the stories, but the truth sort of always comes back round. I think this is not me giving advice. This is just me how about we think about this, or I'm going to end it on this. And how about, this is more of a suggestion. There's so much like advice on how to make friends, or just like, oh, just go out and meet these people, or just change this about yourself, or move to this area, or don't worry about it. There's so much stuff, but we're never really told that this is just part of life. Like, and that doesn't have to be a depressing thought. It can just be an understanding that people move on. Sometimes I'm trying to convince myself people move on, relationships change, it's okay. No, but they do. Like, people, it's just a fundamental part of life. I've lost so many friends, and I've always sort of blamed myself, and sometimes I can take some of the blame, but it's just who we are as just humans. We like being together, but we sort of don't like being together. This doesn't obviously cover everyone and everybody. This is what I'm saying. You're all going to have different reasons why you maybe feel alone, but maybe feeling alone is a bit different to not having friends. This video is just about not having friends. So you're all going to have different reasons why you don't have friends, or you maybe lost friends. But maybe we should just, there is no advice. Stay with me here. Maybe we just need to just, like, I'm not saying it's like stiff upper lip, because my biggest joy in life is like, I know people know. That's enough for me. You know, if you're ever anywhere, you're in like a bar, and you're just not feeling the vibe. So you might be slouched back in your chair. I'm a sloucher. You might be slouched back, and then you see somebody also slouched back, and they're looking at you. You look at them, and you just know you like smile at each other. You like, look at this place. I look at the planet, look at Earth, like look where we are, look what's happening. Like there are people like that. You never become friends with them. That's the sad thing. Yeah, I've been to some incredible countries, and I've just been sat in the corner at like a curve of a road, and I've seen like a kid, and he's looked back at me, and I've looked back, and I know we're both thinking the same thing. Like, what are we doing on this planet? So I think we are all fundamentally connected, and I think, like we do share so much. But yeah, maybe we just have to let go. I know I'm okay with being by myself. Like I'm okay with that. But I know some people aren't. But that's maybe the way around it. I'm not saying to become disconnected and just completely lose yourself in video games or films. Like, you know, go into the real world and meet people and talk to people. But having that really, really solid friendship just seems so rare now. And even people I'm envious of, I can just still see. I'm not trying to like put my own my own doubts and my own like trauma onto them, but even people that have solid relationships, I see the flaws in their relationships. I see why they're friends. I know they're friends through circumstance, or I know they're friends because there's a hierarchy again, that one person is up here and they're friends with this person because they're a bit below and they can sort of make themselves feel better about themselves, or that person follows that person around because that person's more successful and this person trying to ride in their coattails, but they're still friends. All relationships are a bit like a business deal, and they all come with different terms and they're all treated like something. I like to think that they're not, and yeah, maybe I am talking too dull there, because you know, I guess when you're a kid they're not. When you're a kid you still can have fun, but as I'm getting older I just feel like nothing's free anymore. And like if somebody gives me something, they want something back. I don't know, maybe that's too much of a cynical conclusion. Maybe I don't agree with what I'm saying there. But yeah, I'll end on that. Maybe the answer of trying to get out there and make new friends isn't the answer. Yeah, maybe there's something else out there. I don't know. That's definitely why podcasts and stuff like this are taking off now, because they're definitely sort of replacing the friendships we don't have anymore. Alright, I've told you time long enough. Let's end this. Thanks for listening, guys.